Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Khalil Doheny, and the Director of Content Marketing at Digital Niche Agency. Today, we have James from Mayweather Fitness Holdings, and then we have Tom from WME. Hope you guys are doing well. And while people are trickling in, James, you want to kind of just give a little bit of background on yourself and then kind of introduce Tom here.
Yeah, great. Quick background on me. I was a corporate lawyer back in London for a few years and then moved to Bain Consulting for about 10 years, working with Fortune 500 companies in London, South Africa, New York, and LA. I've been here in LA for 15 years or so. And over the last 10 years or so, have spent my time working with athletes and entertainers to build out businesses with and for them. So creating partnerships with big names such as Beyonce, creating a company called ID Park with her, helped build that and transition that into a licensing deal with Adidas. I've been with Floyd for about 12 years now, and we've been doing a few different businesses together. Most importantly, we created this company, Mayweather Fitness Holdings, about 6 years ago, which is ultimately the portfolio holding company for all of Floyd's businesses in health, wellness, and fitness. And we've launched one major business under that called Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, which is our gym franchise. And we're now in the process of building new business lines. This is Tom Chapman, who's our partner at WME. I think both of us will talk a little bit about what WME is and how important it is to our relationship. But I'll let him kind of give a bit of a background and intro on his personal experience as well.
Great, thank you. Well, appreciate you having me. I always prefer being referred to as a partner than an agent. Actually, the word agent makes my skin crawl. But WME is one of the biggest sports and entertainment agencies in the world. We represent a whole raft of talent across sports, entertainment, fashion, digital. It's also much more than just a talent agency now. We're a 360 media and entertainment company. The business is primarily divided into three buckets. You have WME, which is the talent representation portion. You have IMG, which is the media and entertainment portion, and then you have what is now known as TKO, which is a separate publicly traded company which owns the WWE and UFC. There are a few other smaller own branded businesses in the marketing space that we own or have investments in, but that's largely what we do. I've been at the company for just over 10 years, and like James, I'm British, but I landed here in California about 8 years ago. And my role at the company is I oversee commercial business for our top athletes, one of which, of course, is Floyd. And I oversee a number of different sports and have been involved in the careers of many of our top athletes. I'm also involved in some of our clients outside of sports across entertainment and music as well, and have been working with James and Floyd on the Mayweather business now for about 18 months. And, it's one of the projects that is most exciting for me because in Floyd and James, you have, two clients that are truly entrepreneurial and, really want to lean in and grow the business that they have started together. And for me, that's the dream kind of client to work with.
And James, I'm just going to pass it back to you if you want to talk more about this partnership. And then after we kind of talk about it, we're going to leave some room at the end for some Q&A. So if anyone in the audience has a question through this whole discussion, leave it in the Q&A chat box. We'll make sure we get your questions answered. So
yeah, great, perfect. So the way that we're gonna run this one is I'll give a little bit of a background on the relationship with WME, and then we're gonna have a kind of internal Q&A where I'm gonna ask Tom some questions about WME and about WME's relationship with Mayweather, and then we'll open it up to the floor. So to give a bit of context, quite uniquely for the kind of top tier elite level athlete that Floyd is, he had always chosen to not have a manager or an agent during the course of his career. So he was very shrewd in the way that he thought about his own brand and really leaned into monetizing that within the sport of boxing, both in terms of pay-per-view revenue for the fights that he was having, as well as being the promoter, both for his fights and for other types of fights. So he strategically chose to not take any major licensing, sponsorship, or endorsement deals whilst he was a professional boxer, with the goal of creating this company once he'd retired that would build not just one, but a number of businesses under the Mayweather brand in the categories of health, wellness, fitness, and lifestyle. So about 4 years ago, we launched Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gym franchise. We had 5 locations open when COVID hit. We have about 100 locations open today across 2 different brands, one of which we acquired, but all under the Mayweather Fitness banner. So we had this level of growth that I don't think any other fitness franchise had during that time, certainly any brick and mortar fitness franchise. So it really proved out Floyd's credibility and proof of commercial viability in the fitness industry during that time. So then we came back and we kind of reset, we said to ourselves, okay, how are we going to most effectively launch our new business lines? And we have some really big opportunities in things like nutritional supplements, gaming, retail products, consumer fitness products. So we said, well, listen, we don't have the skill set and capabilities to do all of those things ourselves. So let's go out and bring on the best partners to do those things together with us. And this is the first time really Floyd was open to having a company like WME represent us. And so we actually spent a long time doing diligence on who's the right agency to work with the right people who will actually be partners. So I refer to Tom and W as a partner, not an agent. Who are the right people to do that? And what we found in WME and Tom are people who don't act like agents, but who act like partners. And I think that's what I want to get into a little bit with Tom and pass that information on to the people on this call is how does WME act in relation to Mayweather, and what are the things that they're going to bring to the table? So maybe my first question, Tom, to you is, as you think about a brand like Mayweather and where we're at today, Floyd, most successful boxer of all time, highest paid athlete, 4 years in a row on Forbes, and only just launching new business lines under that Mayweather brand. How do you see him and the Mayweather fitness brand in the next year, 5 years, and 10 years?
That's a big question.
Yeah. Well, we're going strong.
Yeah, I think we've not got enough time to cover that.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think first and foremost, before I answer that question, I think what you touched on about the relationship that we have with you guys. And one thing that I think is really important to stress is that we don't need to do any one deal. As an agency, we're a publicly listed company. We represent probably more than half of the most influential talent in the world, whether they be entertainment, athlete, you name it. We don't rely upon one deal. We don't rely upon one commission payment. And when I sat down with James initially to talk about what he wanted, he was saying all the things that I would want a partner to say, in that we're trying to build long-time enterprise value here. So the first thing, and James probably gets sick of me saying this, is that we do no bad deals. We don't need to rush into doing one deal because we need to make a quick payment. We don't need to rush into a deal that seems 99% right. If it's not 100% right, it's not the deal for their business. For me, this is building brand equity, both in Floyd and the business. And the goal here is that in 5 years' time, the business is double, triple the size it is now in terms of revenue and growth, but equally recognition. And what we want to create is we want to create a household brand that is recognized for quality, and not just any one particular vertical. So at the moment you have Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, and what they've done is they've created a brand that is known for quality. And so James mentioned about nutritional supplements. To me, that is a very natural space. And, you know, I don't know if we can talk about it, but there's lots of exciting projects coming there. You know, if we go and we put the Mayweather brand on a nutritional supplement or on a product, it has to be of the utmost quality. So in 5 years, we want growth. In 10 years, we want growth. At some point, there will be an exit of sorts. But again, it is finding the right partner at the right time, and there is no rush to do that. And I want to stress that for us, as the representative and business partner of Mayweather Fitness, you know, we cannot stress enough that it takes care and dedication and attention, and these things take time.
And I think one thing that will be helpful for you to understand is the scale of WME. It's and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but a multi-billion-dollar company that, as you mentioned, represents a majority, if not a majority, a significant number of the biggest talent in Hollywood, in sports. You guys own the UFC. You guys own WWE. So the powerhouse that is WME is really the reason why we came with you guys. Is as we look to build these new businesses, it's like you said, we can't have a failure. So as we looked to evaluate those different opportunities, we had to do it with a company who understands celebrity business, who understands consumer products, and who understands how to launch and build those in a successful way. Can you talk a little bit about what it takes to make a celebrity business succeed? Because a lot of people here probably think, okay, you got Floyd Mayweather. How come he's looking for other people to come and be part of this? What are the new business lines that are going to be launched? If you could talk a little bit about why some celebrity businesses fail, and what it is that those that have really succeeded and created billion-dollar companies and billion-dollar brands around themselves, what are those success factors that have gone into that, and why you think that this company is going to be in that category?
So I'll address the first point about the scale of our business, and then we can talk about what makes us a successful business. And I don't refer to this as a celebrity business. I mean, this is a business. It happens to have some very valuable IP attached to it. But so I'll go back one step. So as I said at the start, the Endeavor business is divided up into 3 separate companies, largely speaking. Endeavor is a publicly traded company. It's valued at about $12 billion. Our CEO is a rather infamous guy called Ari Emanuel. If you haven't seen Entourage, Ari Gold is based on Ari. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Great viewing. But the scale of the business now is we have about 7,500 employees, offices in 33 different countries. So whilst it's just me sat on this call, the resources that we have, you know, across the board are extensive. I'm definitely not an expert in everything. And whilst I'm the person that probably talks to James the most, you know, I have people in different spaces, different verticals within the company that are working in their area of expertise on developing Floyd's business. You know, content, for example, is a great example. I'm sure we'll get on and talk about that in time, but you know, not my area of expertise. So there's a guy down the corridor in this building, but there's also a guy that sat in the Middle East. There's a guy that sat in London that are, you know, working consistently on developing content opportunities for the Mayweather brand. So that's a little bit about the scale of our business and how you can utilize. And really, it's up to you. It's about what levers do you want to pull and when. So we can advise you, but it's, you know, you can scale up and scale down as and when needed. So celebrity business is very fashionable right now. Probably has been the last 5+ years. I think there were some early movers maybe 10 years ago, but certainly in the last 5 years, every single celebrity wants to be an owner. It's very fashionable to be a shareholder. It's very fashionable to be an entrepreneur. The reality of it is, and I'm happy to say this because I would say it to all of my clients that fall into this bucket is 95% of our clients aren't ready for it, or don't have the capacity nor the dedication to be able to actually put the resources and the time that is needed to build a successful business. Now, what is a successful business? Well, a successful business is however you define success, but that, clearly it has to make money. It has to be sustainable, it has to be self-sufficient. And the best way to do that is to build a great team. And a team is, in my opinion, the single most important thing that sits behind the celebrity, behind the talent, that makes the business work. The second thing, and again, I'm not saying this because we're all here to talk about funding, but a business has to be well capitalized. A lot of reasons why these businesses fail, and again, James, you're probably sick of hearing me say this, but one of the big things is you cannot rely solely on the talent to run the business, or to promote the business, or to market the business, or to share messaging. They can help and they can add fuel to the fire, but there has to be a real business plan that does not solely rely on talent talking about a business or talent showing up and being in one place. They physically can't be everywhere. So there has to be a very clear strategy of how best to use the talent's IP, how best to use the talent's time, and frankly, how best to use the talent's expertise. Like in Floyd's case, when we're talking about nutrition, you're talking about one of the most successful athletes that's ever lived. He probably knows a thing or two about nutrition. Therefore, we want to tap into that. What he might not necessarily know as much about is, branding or product formulation or HR or staffing. So those are the things where we need other experts to come and support him and James in their initiative. Now, that's not easy. But what I would say, one of the smartest things that Floyd Mayweather has ever done is empowered someone like James to take care of his business. One of the biggest, and actually probably the sole, but by a long distance, one of the reasons why many businesses fail is not because the talent's not good enough or not prepared, but they don't have the right people around them. And I think they think that it's easy to go make a product, to put it online and hope people come buy it and get an early exit. And, I've seen it far too many times where it's just not the case. So I think a team, very important, well-funded. And listen, you've got to have a bit of luck along the way. You've got to have a special source somewhere. Talent helps with that because they are a living, breathing, real person. It's a personality, there's emotion. I think you have to tap into that. But you can't solely rely on the talent to run the business.
Yeah, that's we having been with you guys for a year and a half or so, we're already seeing the benefit. Obviously, like Floyd's name in and of itself has this huge power and allows us the opportunity to get conversations that any other company wouldn't be able to get, allows us to get deal terms that other companies wouldn't be able to get. What I've seen that's been really interesting over the last 12 to 18 months is that we now add another huge accolade to what the company has. So as we're now saying, okay, we're going to create a new joint venture partnership and we're going to launch and build this business, we have WME in our corner, setting up some of those relationships, validating the credibility of the company, bringing in other potential partners, both at the initial stage and at the growth stage. And so we're already seeing that as compared to any other startup company, it's very, very different because WME just certainly won't wreck a startup company. So you have Floyd, you have WME, and then you have all the different facets that fall underneath WME. And I think that one quite cool to talk about is like, obviously we have you on the commercial side, and we have Joel and the guys on kind of the venture side.
We should talk about that as well.
Yeah, that's what I would love for you to kind of jump into a little bit. Like, what does that mean for us as a client and a partner? You've spoken a little bit about the things that you do and your viewpoint. How about those guys on the venture side, both in terms of structuring the deals, but then if you're one of the people on this call and you say, okay, I'm going to evaluate a potential investment opportunity here. I want to see what an exit looks like. What's WME's capability there, and how does Joel and those guys lean into what we're doing?
Yeah, so the way that we, and again, this is credit to our leadership who have made some very good bets along the way and picked trends. You know, one of the things that we noticed as a company was that our clients wanted to start owning stuff, and they wanted to start building their own brands rather than getting paid to endorse someone else's brand. And, you know, much like Floyd throughout his boxing career, who didn't necessarily want to be fighting to make other people wealthy, he's preserved his brand and now wants to build his own brand, you know, with a view to creating value in the long term and you know, making him and his partners, you know, a much greater value proposition than taking, you know, shorter term sponsorship type deals. So what we did was we staffed up. We realized that, you know, I was not an expert, Ari was not an expert, Mark was not an expert, but that we needed to go and hire people from a venture and finance background. So rather than being an agent and doing what typical agents do, which is fly by the seat of your pants and try to figure it out on the go, we said, you know what, we're going to go hire the best people to come work in-house at our agency that can help us and our clients assess and analyze venture opportunities. So we hired a guy called Ben Enowitz. At the time, he was actually working on the other side of the deal from us at Alibaba, but comes from a venture background. And he started as one person. I think he's been with us about 6 or 7 years now. That team is now about 9-10 people, all from a banking, finance, venture background. And what those people are doing is they are assessing business opportunities for our clients that want to be entrepreneurial. Now, the reality, as I said before, is that, you know, we represent thousands of clients. The majority of them do not want, well, they may want to, but are not realistically capable of, you know, owning their own business and operating it and being the face of and being on the board of, you know, XYZ company. The ones that do want to, like Floyd, like Ryan Reynolds, who's a client, you know, we help build and structure his aviation gym business, which, you know, publicly available information, was sold. They made about an $800 million valuation. Like Dwayne Johnson, for example, The Rock, you know, another client that, you know, is truly entrepreneurial, has invested in his own brand and, you know, wants to, you know, continue to invest and double down on his own brand rather than taking a check to go and do an appearance or a sponsorship. The way that this team engages with James, I would say you are probably one of our more active clients. And again, it's credit to Floyd for empowering someone that understands how a business operates, understands the value that people like that can bring, and you know, being engaged enough to want to have those conversations. You know, equally, you know, having the best lawyer. It may not necessarily be, you know, the biggest firm or the most expensive lawyer. I mean, we do these deals all the time. And, you know, we know and work with the best professional advisors. So again, we've taken on someone that is helping with our, so, you know, some of our contractual negotiations and legal work that we believe adds an edge. So, you know, I always say it's about the team. I said it earlier. I mean that the way that we staffed up as an agency means that we can cater to a client like you guys in a much better way.
Yeah, and we feel that as the client, we feel, you know, and this phrase has been thrown around a lot, I think, in your world, like the 360 agency for a long time, but it's real with what WME is doing, and it's real in terms of the deal structuring capabilities and results. It's real with respect to the venture group and understanding and helping put together a company and a partnership that will have significant enterprise value for our investors when we exit. And then the other piece that I'd love for you to talk a little bit about is IMG. So my understanding, and I'll let you get into a little bit more detail, but you have IMG, which is one of the, if not the biggest licensing agency in the world. So it had big clients like some of the movie studios, and they do all the licensed products and apparel and lots of different things like that. Again, I believe another multi-billion-dollar company. And WME acquired IMG to add to all of its different capabilities. And so as we, as Mayweather Fitness, we're thinking about the different businesses that we're launching and the way that we're going to do those. We have the gym franchise business, and all of those numbers are up on the Republic site there, that we own 100% ourselves. We operate, we have our own employees, we built that business. We have a couple of these new business lines like nutritional supplements and gaming that WME is helping us structure the joint venture partnerships with, whereby it'll be a 50-50 arrangement with the venture partner building and operating their business, but Floyd and us really acting as owners. And then we have this big set of categories where we say, hey, we don't have the bandwidth or the expertise to go and build 20 different businesses. It's like, that's not what we do. We built the gyms ourselves. We've got these other couple of categories that we're doing joint ventures with. And then we've got all of these different things, from retail boxing gloves to recovery products to home fitness products, all of these different things where there's huge opportunity under the Mayweather brand. And so what we said to ourselves is, hey, instead of building those ones ourselves, let's create a licensing business and engage IMG, and Tom will talk more about how that works and what IMG's capabilities are. But where IMG goes and finds the best-in-class licensed partner in every one of those categories. And that licensed partner goes and builds out the business, and we fully support it, and we use the gym ecosystem, we use the other business lines, and Floyd obviously leads in, he gives the IP and the social media promotions and the PR and the activations and the in-person appearances. But then we have a number of different business lines where it's much more arm's length for us than owning and operating a business. And so then we can create 5, 10, 15, 20 categories, which are all generating royalty streams and annuities up into the parent company. So again, our main goal is thinking long-term enterprise value creation for our shareholders. And how do we do that? We've got our gyms we own, we've got our joint ventures that we meaningfully have ownership in, and then we've got these licensed businesses. And so what I'd love, Tom, for you to do is talk a little bit about IMG, like the rationale for that acquisition by WME, how IMG works, and where you see the value in a company like ours in having these multiple different business lines that are run as licensed deals.
Yeah. Well, IMG is very close to my heart. I actually started at IMG back in London many years ago. But IMG was founded by a guy called Mark McCormack. And if you don't know who Mark McCormack is, you could look him up. Very, very successful guy, kind of invented the sports agency business. Great book that you should also read, a school book. They don't teach you at Harvard Business School. You've got a copy of it. And what he did was he professionalized how people could represent talent. And he was very successful at it. But he grew the business into different areas that he thought were going to grow as culture continued to affect sports and entertainment and fashion. So, he started representing golfers, then tennis players, then he started getting very close with Rolex. So he started to represent Rolex. And then he started to realize that fashion was becoming very close to culture. So he bought a modeling agency. And then in time, they developed what is now called IMG Licensing, which was where a group of people realized that whilst celebrities had a lot of brand power, there were also like household brands that had a lot of effect on culture. Now, IMG Licensing is incredibly selective. I mean, there is a long list of people who want to work with them because they are the very best in the business. They're one of the biggest. They have the most scale. They do the best deals. They represent people, brands like Aston Martin, for example, they do all the licensing. They represent Epic Games, who own Fortnite. So every single item of Fortnite memorabilia or a duvet cover or a mug or whatever you see is handled by IMG licensing. Now, when it comes to talent, they're very, very selective because most talent doesn't necessarily have the scale or the global power to be able to build what I call a proper licensing business. The IMG licensing are now representing Floyd because Floyd is one of the few people that is truly global. So you can go to any country in the world, and whether you like him, don't like him, have an opinion on boxing, don't have an opinion on boxing, you will know who Floyd Mayweather is. And secondly, again, there is a willingness to lean into the business. So, the IMG licensing business is a huge resource that you've already started to tap into and only just scratched the surface. But again, when we sat down 18 months ago and we talked about what the strategy and what value we can bring, I said to him, well, you should be represented by IMG licensing and you should be represented by WME, because what I'm going to do in the brand building space and the venture space can be very complementary to what the guys in licensing can do. Now, you do not want to own and control and operate every business because it is just far too much risk. You don't have the capacity nor the resource. And what do you know about making boxing gloves? But what we can do, and again, I don't know what's public, what's not public, is, we can go out and we can find who are the company that manufacture the best boxing gloves, that have resource, have distribution, have a team that can handle all of that, and then come to James and the Mayweather brand and say, well, okay, we will build a sub brand for you where you can use all of our infrastructure. That's the type of deal that there are certain categories that, to me, make perfect sense to be a licensed business. There are certain businesses that absolutely you want to own, because that's the one where you're not going to get paid today. So you're not going to see tons of revenue in the short term, but you will continue to add enterprise value to that brand, which then flows up to the parent company. And at some point in the future, there will be a liquidity event, which then, catches up and makes up for, the 3, 5, 8 years that you put into it. But at the same time, you've got the balance because you've got other business lines that are feeding the parent company with nice, steady revenue stream.
Yeah.
Now, they won't all be successful.
Yeah.
It's impossible for everything to be successful. Even the best talent in the world will have some hits and some misses.
Yeah.
But the goal is, let's get as many hits as we can. Let's make sure that we double down on the hits, and let's make sure that we pick the right horse to own, because that's where the real carrot will be.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think that's great insight into how IMG works, how selective they are, the value that they can bring, and the fact that it's already live. So maybe a couple of points to clarify. As you think about an investment in Mayweather Fitness Holdings, it includes all of these things in health, wellness, fitness. So it's the gym franchise, which is already existing, the supplements that will launch, the gaming businesses we plan to launch, and then all of these licensed businesses in that fitness category all flow up into that parent. And the reason that we structured it in that way is the words that Tom's used a lot: enterprise value creation. That's the goal. It's 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 8 years from now, having a parent company that we go and IPO, or that we go sell to private equity, but that we have all of these different properties underneath that are generating significant cash flow and would have substantial value within themselves, but when rolled up under that one brand and that one parent company, have this enormous value that gets all of our initial investors, all of our new investors, our founders, Floyd, everybody, this big return on. And I know you say, hey, what's public? It's not public. Glad you are. But some of the questions that we've had from the Republic investors have been, okay, so the gym franchise is existing and we've got the numbers for those. What's the timeline for the rollout of the new businesses? And pleased to say that we just signed our first license deal in December of last year, so a month or two ago, and that's for the boxing gloves that Tom mentioned. So that's Going to be a direct-to-consumer business, an Amazon business, a retail business where we're selling Mayweather branded boxing gloves. The perfect next business line. There's probably nothing on the planet more authentic to Floyd than boxing gloves. IMG went out and they literally spent probably 9 months finding the best partner who has the capabilities, the infrastructure, the brand, the capital to build this out together with us. So that business will launch later this year, but it's already signed. We've already received upfront minimum royalty guarantees. We've got another couple of businesses or license deals lined up with IMG. So that tranche of the business is fully up and running and will kind of be a snowball. Like I think maybe you can touch on, but certainly from what Bruno and the guys said is with any new client for them, it takes several months to get that first deal done. But when that first deal comes, a bunch more come behind that. And we were certainly very selective with IMG and saying, who do we want to work with and what categories do we want to do?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Bruno. He's referring to a guy called Bruno Maglioni, who I definitely would not want to be on the other side of the desk of. He's one of the best negotiators that I've ever met. He runs IMG licensing. He is truly an expert in the space. Brett Weiss as well, done an incredible job. I think, listen, anyone can go to a factory and make product, right? The reality is, if you're going to put product out there, it's got to be good quality, particularly something that is so close to Floyd's brand, like a boxing glove. I mean, it's how do you define a boxing glove? You know, it's not, you know, it's not something that you can not do properly.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, it has to be the best. And actually, there's not that many people that make boxing great. So that was the thing. It was a case of going, well, okay, here's the 7 companies in the world that actually would be realistically able to work with us. Those 3 aren't right.
Yep.
Here's 4. We have conversations with all 4. And Bruno and Brett go do their thing and they find the best deal.
Yep.
And then it's about giving you and Floyd choice.
Right.
It's about, okay, well, here's 3 suitors. Here's this deal good because the economics are better. This one's slightly better because we believe this company's better.
Right.
We like these people better. These people are better in Asia. Like all of those things kind of factor into the decision making of who the right partner is. I forget what the question was. Remind me of the question.
No, that's it. It's you know how IMG and us select the right partners.
Yeah. Sorry,
that's exactly it.
But I think the timeline is anyone can do a deal today,
Right.
but when you're talking about tangible products,
Right.
you don't want to necessarily rush to do the quickest deal to get that payment in upfront. But what you do want to do is you want a nice cadence.
Yeah.
And so the question was talking about what deal comes and then the rest follow.
Yep.
What you now have, well, you already have proof of brand
Yep.
in the gyms, which is very strong. Has been very successful. When many gyms are not doing so well, bad real estate deals, dwindling memberships, your business has done very well. That's proof of brand.
Right.
Now, when you're talking about licensing, you have to pick good partners. You pick a good partner, what you have is a good case study.
Yeah.
And you know that business will continue to tick away, and it will start small. And if half of what happens, I think is going to happen within 2 to 3 years, you'll have a meaningful business.
Yeah.
During that 2 to 3 year during that 2 to 3 year period, what we're also doing is we're going and having conversations with other potential suitors, saying, "Well, look what we're already doing over here.
Yeah.
Look what we're already doing over here. And by the way, we haven't even gotten started yet."
Yeah.
So those people are like much more willing to have a conversation with you, much more willing to make the investment, whether it be time, resource, because they know that there's a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Which is, again, very important when it comes to making an investment in talent, because just because someone's famous doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a good business partner.
Yeah. I think that for us, we think about the company, there's a responsibility and an obligation to Floyd's legacy. And he would never do anything that would have any anticipation of a loss. And so 5 years ago, we started the gym franchise business. It was all about that. We've proven that out over the last 5 years in probably the most unfortunate of circumstances for brick and mortar fitness. Yet we came through, we succeeded. the system revenue growth has been exponential over the past 3 years, which I think is probably not only rare, but potentially unique in the fitness industry. So even Floyd protects his brand, we protect the Mayweather Fitness brand, and so as we launch these new businesses, we've got to do it with the right partners, and we've got to do it with the people who we have their expectation that will achieve success in the same way that Floyd did throughout the 25 years of his career at the top of the sport of boxing, and throughout the last much shorter time, but 5 years of our success in the Mayweather Boxing and Fitness franchise. So it's exciting times. We definitely have the proof of brand in Floyd. We have the proof of commercial viability in fitness through the gym franchise. We have the proof of being able to do new deals through what we're now doing with you guys at WME and IMG. And I think it is a quite a unique and rare opportunity to invite people in, which we want to do, because as we launch things like supplements, as we launch things like boxing gloves, hey, if we've got 1,000 people who are investors in our parent company, there's a no better class of people who are invested in what we do and the long-term value, who see that and feel that, who experience it, and who are going to be part of that success. So thanks for the time, Tom. Probably a few questions, Khalil. I don't want to take up too much more of the people who are on the call, but if there are any questions from the floor, then we certainly have to answer those as well.
Yeah. There's a couple here. Let's go through them. First one is, I'm interested in the list of ingredients of the products and how and if it caters to women. I am interested in investing and using the product for women to pair with my coaching business as a registered nurse.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think it goes back to one of the things Tom was saying about the quality of the partner, the quality of the product. There's no way we're putting anything out there that is not going to be of the highest caliber. So certainly as we think about that nutritional supplements category, which again, I think is going to be the biggest one for us, it's about putting ingredients into those products that Floyd is comfortable putting in himself. Like it's a very unique story as to why we're going about this nutritional supplements business, and part of it is because Floyd never took nutritional supplements. He didn't trust any brands that were out there, and he didn't want to. He's the most elite level of athlete, and he didn't want to put anything inside of his body that he didn't know where it's being made and what was going into it. So in order for him to do that and put his name on something that's going into an athlete or an everyday fitness consumer's body, it has to have that quality of ingredients that not only is going to be of the highest quality, but that our customers are going to know they can trust, because it's something that Floyd himself will put into his body.
Awesome. And then is the investment for everything, or is it just one thing?
Yeah, and that's a great question. That's probably the question that we've had the most on all of Republic. It's into everything. So essentially the investment is into the parent company, Mayweather Fitness Holdings. And Mayweather Fitness Holdings is everything under the Mayweather brand in health, wellness, and fitness. So all of the things that we've been talking about today, gym franchise business, nutritional supplements, VR gaming, boxing gloves, fitness consumer products, all of those different business lines flow up into the one parent company, Mayweather Fitness Holdings, and that's what the investment's into.
Sorry, you should also talk about, I think the question was asking about whether the product would be suitable for women.
No,
You should talk a little bit about the membership of the gyms, because I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
And actually those learnings are really important when we are developing product.
Yeah.
Because there are many more women members, female members than I would have thought.
Yep.
Which actually is amazing.
Yeah, great point. So back to that first question. So we have about 20,000 members across all of our gyms right now. And across those 25, the majority are women. And one of the reasons for nutritional supplements being a focus for us is that we had requests from our members and from our franchisees. Hey, you guys building nutritional supplements, do you guys have a nutritional product that Floyd's used or that Floyd endorses that will be sold through the gyms that we as members can try? And so that was such a big piece of the overall value proposition with doing nutritional supplements, is because we had demand for it before we even created a business around it. And that demand comes from majority women. So as we think about who the ultimate customer is going to be and how we service the demands of that customer, we have this amazing ability to do that through that ready-made base of members where we can test products with them. We can give them initial samples. We can say, hey, what do you like? What don't you like? What appeals to women? What appeals to men? What are the things that you want to focus on? What are the pain points in the existing supplements market that you can't get what you feel you need those things? So there's a great point, like not only from the female perspective, which we have such a great view on because of the majority membership base we have for all women, but overall in that membership base, to also be the people who write reviews about it, who post about it on social media. We have 400 coaches across our system who could be affiliates where they're able to post boxing nuts, nutritional supplements on their social media and create that groundswell approach to it all. So that it really can't be undervalued how huge the gym franchise business is to help launch and build these new products. And then for those products themselves to drive foot traffic and incremental revenue and value to the franchisees in those gyms.
And then how much of the business is owned by Floyd? I've recently looked into some local LA area fitness franchises for sale and see some are financially struggling. How are the Mayweather boxing franchises doing?
Floyd's the biggest owner of the business, so Floyd's the largest shareholder of all of them. In terms of the franchisees, I think probably not immune to everything that's going on in the market, right? So if you think about any franchise business, there's a certain number of locations that will close on any given year. If you think of a fitness franchise in the last couple of years, that's probably much higher than what the average franchise business is. For us as a franchise system, the rate of any franchise closure has been significantly lower than the market. So the brand has been able to protect against what a lot of the market saw. Over the first 2 years of COVID, 30% of gyms in the United States permanently closed. Our number was a fraction of that. So whilst there are certainly challenges in brick and mortar fitness, our ability to kind of lean into support our franchisees is definitely something that's a huge benefit to us and to the brand.
And then what type of joint ventures are you interested in? Are the joint ventures just product-based companies?
I think largely so. As we think about the categories for joint ventures, it's certainly within those three main ones of health, wellness, and fitness. And then anything that's a joint venture requires meaningfully more engagement from us and from Floyd. So for a joint venture business from our side, it has to be something that goes back to the core tenets of what we think drives success in celebrity and Floyd branded businesses, which is something truly authentic to him, something that we're going to really lean into as a business owner rather than just a licensor, something that we can add incremental value to versus going down the license route. So there's probably only a few of those that would be in the joint venture category where we would really lean into the level of being a business owner.
And then a question here, I'm a foreign investor. Once we invest in this business, do we receive a certificate as proof of investment sent to our foreign address? I also see there's around 50 days left to invest. Are there any other rounds after the 50 days?
You can probably answer that first question better than I can.
I would have to check in with the Republic rep, but around, I would just double check and I can get back to you guys.
But I think the answer to that is there's certainly paperwork involved. It's a safe note. So whether you're, my understanding is whether you're a domestic or an international investor, you get that same crowd safe. But I think all that information should be on the page, and I don't want to speak out of turn on that. With respect to additional rounds, I do not think so. We're not one of those companies where we're just looking to get to the next round of financing. We're wildly unprofitable. And it's like, okay, 12 months later, we're going to do the next round at a higher valuation. And 12 months after that, That's not what this business is. Franchising scales very profitably, so you get a certain number of locations and it all drops down to the bottom line as cash flow. And as we mentioned, these new business lines will be joint ventures funded by the joint venture partner, or licensed deals funded by the licensee. So as we think about parent company investment, the expectation is that we won't do another round. So this will probably be the last opportunity to be an investor in Mayweather Fitness Holdings.
And then the last question I see here is, what is the target number of new Mayweather gyms for the next 3 years?
500. And that includes both domestic and international, probably about half of those domestically and half of those internationally. We think that the market can probably hold 600 to 800 domestically and about that same number again internationally. But we want to grow at the right scale, bring on franchisees who will really thrive as business owners of Mayweather gyms, and then do larger international deals where bigger investment groups are coming in and they're buying the rights to entire countries or entire territories. So we're probably talking a few hundred locations, both domestically and internationally, in the next 3 to 4 years.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Is there anything else either you two want to add before we wrap here today?
Nothing from my side. I appreciate your time, Tom. Is there anything you want to close with? If not,
I think the one thing, and it just popped up while you answered the question that we didn't touch on, was content strategy, which, you know, in time, I think that is going to really add fuel to the fire for your business. Because when you do have talent-backed businesses, what people really want is they want to know what goes on behind the scenes. And in time, we believe that there is a very, very valid business opportunity for Floyd to tell that business story. And I think that, you know, a lot of what happens for television is not necessarily real, but producers are looking for very real opportunities, and what you guys have is something that's very real. What you then have is, depending on the success of the content production, is you have global visibility.
right?
So, you know, you just talked about international markets, Asia, the Middle East are huge growth areas. Where, you know, we go put something on Netflix and it becomes a 6-part series about Floyd's businesses, all of a sudden, you know, that's hitting a lot of eyeballs, and you have a lot of new members, a lot of new interest, both in the existing businesses, but new business opportunities.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to put the cart behind the horse.
Yeah,
we've got to do one thing at a time, but that's
exactly
part of the plan.
Yeah, I'm working on it in parallel, right? Like, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it from our side, Khalil.
Yeah, I was just real quick. I was going to see if you wanted to mention anything about that investment that came in yesterday.
Oh, yes. So we potentially will hit our max before the end of the current close date. We got a $250,000 investment in yesterday, which was awesome. So big thanks to that person. I don't want to call them out by name, just in case they want to remain private, but that was a nice one, and obviously kind of showcases the value in the business and the confidence that people have behind this. As noted, we're raising significant capital off platform as well, and have raised over $3 million over the last 12 months or so into this same capital round. So yeah, I think that our expectation is that we're gonna hit our max on this fairly soon, especially if a few more investments like that come in. So big shouts out to our $250,000 investor yesterday, and we'll talk privately. Don't want to call you out on this live, but we appreciate that, and it's great momentum.
Awesome. Thank you both for taking the time out of your busy days to talk to us here today. And thank you to everyone who attended the webinar. If you wanted to rewatch the webinar, don't worry, we'll have a whole replay posted on the Republic page within a couple days. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you, everyone. Hope everyone has a good rest of their day.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.